So we are here today to really share with you where we are, and we're just love to hear more. So we're going to do a quick welcome. Well, we did the welcome, the introduction. Bash and I will quickly introduce ourselves. Then we're going to go into mission and vision, mission for MOT, and then we're going to go into some truths, lies, and truths that we have uncovered during our work. And a lot of this supports the vision and where we're going. And then we're looking at the community offering, and people on our team, everyone who's in this room, who's worked with us, who knows us. Please, we want to hear your voices. We need to hear your stories, your experiences, because, yeah, it's time people heard both, everything, the truth, the tough and the easy and the celebratory ones. And then we're going to have some questions.
I think we can maybe just quickly in the chat, if people could say where they're from, just to get an idea of like which city you are joining us from. Because my online therapist, if some of you are new to who we are and what we do, we have therapists all over the country, which has been amazing to connect with so many different people in different cities. So if you can quickly just share a little bit about you, where you're from. Cool. So we have Durban, Cape Town, Joburg, Germiston, Midlands. Wow. Hey, Kwadisi, welcome. I don't see you, but I'm glad you're here. From London, all the way from London. Hi, Raisa and Paray.
I am Renisha. I'm an occupational therapist. I'm trained occupational therapist. I am originally from the Eastern Cape. I grew up in a small town called Uitenhage and lived a very, I would say sheltered life. Yeah, it was quite a small world. And I left there to move to Cape Town. And that's where I met Bash. And the rest of that story is really just is the product. This business and this company is really a product of that meeting. So I'm not going to talk too much about the relationship. I am also a mother of twin girls. And that was also quite a life-changing meeting because after having my kids, I started my own online therapy, psychotherapy, and it just evolved into so much more of an experience as a mother, having that support. So that also is also a result of this business. And more than that, I have also realized that I'm an entrepreneur by heart, by nature. I love creating, I love inventing, I love just being able to apply my mind to many problems. I haven't ever before had this much awareness of my mind and what it's capable of and what it does to sabotage me than I've ever had in my whole life. I mean, all the years that I've currently lived. So this is a really great place for me to meet you, if I'm meeting you for the first time, and also know that if you're here and have already met me, you've been a huge part of why I'm here. So this is very cool moment for me. And Vash. So Vash, I don't know if you want to do your introduction.
Oh, thank you, Reni. Yeah, my name is Bashira. I am 37 years old. I don't know why age matters, but it somehow does in this context, and I'll tell you why. But I grew up in Rustenburg in the Northwest Province and moved to Cape Town. That's where Ren and I met, and then did community service back in Rustenburg, and then worked after that in different NPO settings, worked in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia for a year, came back and started an organization called Diketo Inclusive Education, And it was really to facilitate inclusion of kids with disabilities into mainstream schools and play centers. My drive has always been for community work. I just love being in communities, working with other people, creating new things and exploring new options. And I guess over the years, it's also led me to, to where I am now with Rin, working and doing MOT work. I have a strong passion for supporting others, and throughout my journey as a therapist, and I think that's where my age comes in, is that it's been a long and lonely journey as a therapist for the longest time. I think until I started my online therapist with Rin, and we created and formed and this beautiful community of therapists where we could connect and share, learn from, and just grow with. And I think seeing the importance of community and the need for community in order to be healthy and supported in all of our visions and what we're trying to do. I do know if you all are here, there is something driving you towards something bigger than what you even do on a day-to-day basis, possibly. And I think having community in achieving and continuing on those paths is so important, because it's not always easy. And you don't have to do it alone. So that was also part of a big vision of, and the excitement behind forming bigger communities and networks. So yeah, that's a bit about me. Exciting to connect from all over the country and the world. So yeah, just to speak a bit more about our mission. Ren said, like Ren had already touched on, at MOT, we always believed in access to therapy services and support. That's been our driving mission throughout the years, from before we even started MOT, with different projects we were involved in. And as we started MOT, we started using technology in order to increase access to therapy services and support. And as we started working with families who didn't have any access at all, we then started using technology. And then we started seeing that even though families are having access to therapy, the way therapy is done is not always accessible, because it's not done in the way that they need the support and the therapy services. And this is basically where we're at right now. It's about taking MOT's vision of access to therapy services, making it accessible via technology in a contextualized way. And we'll speak a lot more about that, because that has been a huge learning for us over the last couple of years, in how we grew access to therapy and what more we need to do in order to make therapy and support accessible. So that's basically, in a nutshell, where we're at.
So where we are really wanting to go is we want to be pioneering contextualized artificial intelligence, AI, for families and children in Africa or the global South. So I know that sounds a mouthful. It sounds like super futuristic, possibly. I don't know. Actually, what does it sound like? Can you tell me what that sounds like? Just so that I can get some feedback. Tell me what that sounds like.
Sounds like it's scary, Cindy. Sounds unexpected.
Okay.
Sounds like the future we need now. It sounds as if therapy is getting with the times. Sounds super interesting. Exciting, I'm in. Cool. I like how it sounds, something exciting. Sounds like we're moving forward.
That's cool feeling.
And I see Janita has her hand up. Would you like to jump in, Janita?
What you guys are saying about AI, it sounds like you are headed down the right path. I've attended 2 conferences this year. One was the mental health conference and one was the AIDS conference. And at both of these conferences, they had people doing research on AI, talking about how it can be used in therapy. But even in their research, there's still a lot of work to do because that personal touch was missing. But honestly, basically they had like a cartoon or animated character who was the AI bot. And yeah, whoever wanted to talk to someone, or they always say someone's available 24/7. We as humans can't be available 24/7 because I need to sleep at night. I have a baby. So I will be available during a certain time. But if the AI bot is there, then they just send a message. And then, for example, Sam will be the AI bot. Sam can respond. Sam can say, what are you feeling? Is this the reason for your feeling? And help in some way. And then maybe say, all right, I think Janita can help you with this problem. So please, will you email her to schedule a session? Something like that. So, I mean, great forward thinking, ladies. That's so cool.
Yay, that's awesome feedback.
So then the next part to that opening statement was, at MOT, we will research, collaborate, and communicate the potential of contextualized therapy for families in Africa using technology and artificial intelligence. So how we envision this sort of playing out, we had to really be careful with this, right? We had to really think about ourselves as well. We can't cut ourselves out of the equation. And with the amount of mental health apps coming out at the moment, the danger of generalizing is still there. The amazing thing with South Africa is that our contexts are so widely different that to think that we're going to get a solution that solves one solution that's going to solve everything for everyone is not where we're going. We're not trying to do that, but we are trying to get to everyone. But we're getting to them with different modes of technology. One of the modes and one of the ways we are going to continue pioneering is artificial technology. So we will still continue doing everything that we still are doing, which is providing a quality online service. We're just going to do it differently. And we are also going to celebrate the uniqueness of each and every individual therapist and each and every individual client. So this is currently our vision, or this is currently the model we're envisioning, and we're really hoping it grows for us to understand better how this is going to work. We have to look for funding. We have to put more of this out there. We have to test a lot more. For this reason, if you're on board, please join the community because you will be on the bandwagon fast. And if it resonates, we take care of our people. Hopefully you'll hear that from the team, but we do. We want to take everyone along with us. And understanding that, women of color, therapists of color, health professionals, women, South Africans, we have a lot to overcome to really get to a place where each moment is filled with peace, is filled with joy. It's hard to stay in that reality because we have so much trauma that we have to, work with on a daily basis. And if we can support each other as people go through their waves of ups and downs in life, then yes, I feel like we've done our job. So we created our own lies and truths. We are really wanting you to know that we are open to be challenged on any of these. A lot of what we're going to say might be uncomfortable. A lot of what we're going to say is also linked to mental health. So please know that while we want to be able to offer this thing to everyone, it is also only for those who are resonating with what we're talking about. We only want to move forward with those who really understand the next what is required energetically in your personal life, in your, in your stress management, even where you need to be or how you want to present yourself in this community. So we are so excited because till now, everyone who's been attracted to work with us has been on this amazing mission-driven, comes with that mission-driven energy. And yeah, so we're going out with that same, putting this out there with that same intention. So professionals or professional knows best, that's the lie. I mean, a lot of our work is in our training is telling us, giving us all the information. So we have more knowledge, right? And for us, it makes sense that we would know better. In the medical model, that is how it works. That's what we were trained in. So for me, personally, on my own journey, I had to really do a lot of unlearning, a lot of reprogramming very early on, once I had got out of ComServe, but also realizing that was a traumatic experience on itself. And now I needed to sort of hustle and create a life for myself. So unlearning that the professional knows best was an uncomfortable process. And I think that lie.
Yeah, I think it's also around, like Ren said, linked to mental health. What came to mind was a story, a story and an experience that I had of, parents parents coming in with their kids and needing a solution for something that the child experiencing. So, for example, handwriting, and parents coming in with a lot of anxiety and feeling like, oh, I need my child's handwriting to be fixed and it needs to look a certain way and it needs to be like this. And as a professional, you know that you have the skills and the knowledge. And so my immediate reaction was to, okay, I can fix this. I can work with this. This is what someone needs from me. And as the helper that I am, I will go and help to fix that, instead of looking at the bigger picture and approaching it in the sense of, I don't know much about this context. So, firstly, why is the child and why are the parents this anxious? Why is handwriting so important? And where is this coming from? So going into the context of really understanding the child instead of just taking on the anxieties of the parents. I think that was a big learning for me, not having to fix everything that's comes our way, but really supporting in a way that is sustainable and effective in the long term for the child specifically.
And then a truth that came out of that is that more context leads to more knowing. And I think as pediatric therapists, I worked in a school and then also did some private lessons. I never really got into the homes. I never ever saw the child in their home. And when we started doing online therapy, it was the first time we got to be in the home. We got to see the layout. We got a sense of the, what is allowed, what's not allowed. You get a sense of someone's home, not that you're judging that home in any way, shape, or form, but you get a sense of what the context, you get more knowledge and more insight into the context. And the amazing thing with kids, they just tell you straight. They tell you what's going on. They don't have any filter some of the times, and they just share very openly. So when we got into understanding that we don't have the full context, something as simple as that we don't know what happened prior to the child logging on and what's going to happen after when the child logs off. If we haven't asked about the schedule, if we haven't asked, is there anything anxiety provoking that's happening afterwards, that's totally going to influence our session. So whether you're a speech therapist, an occupational therapist, what we're also coming to understand with all the research that's coming out in trauma-informed therapy, polyvagal theory, the neuroscience that's coming out of the work by Dr. Joe Dispenza, is just miraculous. And a lot of it speaks to context. And so it's a very the truth, once it hit us, it changed the game for us in so many ways, because what it made us realize is that therapy as we know it was not created for our context. We match our therapists with the clients. And we match based on similar context, because we know that the connection building is so much easier if the person kind of looks like me, maybe speaks like me, understands, my culture. So not needs to, never needs to, but a lot of the time it's also based on that skill set, the relatability. So really looking at that mechanism of matching and understanding what is the magic in you, why is this working so well, has also led us to these understandings of new ways of doing things. But we most certainly can't do this alone. So that's why you are here, and very, very importantly.
And I think it also just leaves a question with us, like, what should therapy be like and what should therapy feel like? So something that we continue doing on a day-to-day basis, but what should it be feeling like and being like? So if you want to share in the chat, just what do you think therapy should feel like? You can just type in a few words or anything that you'd like to share about that. Some comments quickly before we go on. Karen says true connection. Yeah. Anisha, it should feel hopeful. Poonam, I completely agree about context. Family-centered therapy and collaboration is what it's about. Larissa, rewarding for both you and the client. Amazing, yes. Should be a safe space, positive memory or experience, never a chore or a boot camp. And I think this is what feeds into creating contextualized therapy and trying to get these feelings into what we do every day for our clients.
So the next one is health workers. The lie is that health workers help everyone. And this is true. If you have an aunt or an uncle or someone who doesn't really know what you do, but they kind of know what you do, they kind of know you studied in health, they're going to say, you know what, listen, yeah, can't you help so-and-so with something that's not always appropriate to what you do? I can't think of a good example right now. But yeah, I think it's, this thing that we maybe studied, we've got the knowledge, so we'll be able to problem solve even if we're not able to know the answer. We'll be able to problem solve and reason and support. And that's generally my approach when I am faced in those kind of situations. But more than that, I think it becomes this thing that, we need to be able to work with every single individual. And then we go down the road of specializing in a particular, specialization or a particular niche area. And we quickly get, sort of like we start getting smaller because we're like, I can't see everyone. That's too overwhelming. This is not how, it doesn't make, I can't have all that knowledge, And I think a big part of that is what really can deteriorate the mental health of a health worker. And I can say this honestly because my dad was a GP in a small town in Uitenhage. He was like one of two, people of color, doctors of color, and he saw everyone, every single person. He worked from Monday to Sunday. And I know the sacrifices, I know what that's taken from him. But at the same time, I know he did not know everything. I know what he did do was give hope. What he did do was give compassion, empathy, understanding. And I had the privilege of growing up in his surgery, because we lived just behind, in the house behind his surgery. And yeah, it was definitely felt there. Sorry, I got a little bit sidetracked on that personal story that came up. But what came out of it, and this is the other side of my story, is that health workers are not good at helping themselves. And my dad, worked. That was his service, and it cost him a lot, and it cost the family. And we are all in the health professional, all us children, or all my siblings, and we are also understanding the cost. But now, with more knowledge, with more understanding of how health and that balance of health can really coexist, and what that really can feel like, and doing it in a way that really supports everyone. Okay, I don't know, Bash, is there something that we can add?
One of a big thing that stands out as the truth for me is health professionals are not good at helping themselves. And I think that was true for me as well, starting off working and trying to see as many clients, trying to have a hand in everything so that you get all the experience to be a great therapist. And the impact that eventually took on my mental health and my capacity to even work. So I think it goes back to looking after ourselves so that we can feel the feelings that we want to feel. So like, I'm just going back to these comments, like having a safe space for it to be rewarding for both you and the client, having it be a positive memory or experience. Those things are easier and more realistically obtained when we are more authentic and we know ourselves. So looking after ourselves definitely helps in the way that we help others as well.
Yeah. And I guess a big part of this is, and also coming back to why we created the community, is about getting to know yourself and building your self-awareness, space to really be able to learn from each other, to be able to interrogate, the conditionings that we've been taught, and then to practice the things that we want to be able to share with our clients as well, or what we would share because it's been, practiced. And what I've also coming to understand as my journey as a carer or a healer, I don't, there's many ways to describe a person who wants to serve, their work is to serve others, and care for others. And I think naturally we are empathetic, but also naturally we put ourselves last on the list. And coming to understand the gap between starting to put yourself on the list firstly, and then higher up on the list, the gap between that and really then living an actualized life, a life that is fulfilling, a life that is purpose-driven, a life that meets your needs as well as a collective vision and a collective purpose. Yeah, I think this might really, really, evolve into a community that really is quite united on a purpose. So we're excited. We're just going to move quickly on. The next slide is that we are all equal.
There's 2 comments as well, Rennie, in the chat. So
let's pause.
Anisha says, I think a big part of it is that we train so well to help others, but never taught that we even need to help ourselves. I think that's a big one, and something that we all have to unlearn as well.
Yeah.
And then he says, I've been doing so much research on this at the moment to try and support mental health of health professionals. And it seems the key is self-compassion. And if we link that to the space of those who study in this field being overachievers during our school years, when we get to university, we are held enough to explore self-compassion, especially when we struggle. Yeah, I think it's not easy to be compassionate with ourselves. It's so much easier to be more compassionate with another.
Basically a lie, because everyone has a lens that they're looking into the world, and they have biases and they have prejudices, not because they want to all the time, but because their reality was shaped in a certain way. And unless you have traveled that same reality, you won't always know what the other person is actually seeing, experiencing yourself. And I think it is that we are meant to be different. You know, we are meant to actually have different experiences. We will all have a similar experience as a human being, like we will go through life stages and, you know, the biology of it all. But when we are really accepting that we're all not meant to be the same, it really opens up so much more in terms of solutions. And we can see that with the world today, like so many solutions are being created out there because there are so many different ways of doing things. But the therapy and medical world are, you know, we take so much longer to move forward. We take so much longer to sort of get onto board of things, because we do have a conditioning from our medical model training, you know. And I think, not that we ever have to throw that away, or that ever, you know, it was supportive, and knowledge is power, and that's exactly what this work that we're going forward doing is going to be so much more satisfying, gratifying, as a therapist, because, or as a professional of any kind, because it's going to be focusing on those exact same things. The nice balance between the science as well as the heart, as well as hopefully the money.
And I think just with the truth as well, you know, we are a traumatized society. I think at My Online Therapist, we also believe and we consider intersectionality. So we know that, especially because of our history, but I think this is something all over the world that can be, I mean, it is something that can be experienced all over the world. But your race, your class, your gender, your culture plays a role in what your advantages are, and also what the discriminations are that are faced towards you. And I think that's something important to carry over and through therapy, something that we were not taught to do and to even consider as health professionals working with people. And you know, we were taught that we all are equal, and going into a space without acknowledging the power dynamics at play between different races, and just being a therapist and someone asking for help as well. So that is something important that we believe in, that we need to carry through in all our work as well. And I just see there are some comments here. I'm going to try to get through to all of them. So Poonam shared, I recently had to make a choice over my mental health versus environment I work in. Sure. It was a hard choice for me, because it feels like you are giving up, but actually I'm putting myself first so that I can be better for my clients and my family. Yeah, that's a big one. We applaud you, Poonam. Faiz shared something interesting. His book, Becoming Supernatural, is definitely worth a read and lends some really good insight into this conversation. I think this was the person you were speaking about, hey, Ren?
Yeah, yes, yeah, Dr. Joe.
Colleen says, so much of this resonates. My therapist spent a long time teaching me mindful self-compassion. We are hard on ourselves in a difficult career. Also, not to mention, if we have a tendency as therapists to struggle with all these things, so do our colleagues. Yep. The collective space of health workers not coping is also something to think about. So a helpful, compassionate community of well-balanced, mindful therapists is a much healthier one than the average workspace. Yeah, thank you. And then Erin says, the boy who was raised as a dog by Bruce Perry gives so much depth to understanding trauma from the NMT model. I
also just want to say that, you know, this lie of we are all equal. We are also all equal in on a spiritual sense. And I think that I'm saying this now because the work that we want to go forward doing is both, it is both work that involves looking inward and going into uncomfortable spaces within yourself. And it is uncomfortable as hell. And if you don't have a spiritual purpose, if you don't have something you're holding on to, I've found this is going to be really, really tough. If you don't, but you have an awesome community who can remind you or make you feel a little bit more connected to yourself, or, you know, a higher power, if you believe in such, whatever you need to be connected to get you through those really, really tricky times. And that is a big, big, big reason we're doing this community as well. We want to go deep with you. We want to do this together. We want to become the community of choice for any person wanting to work with children and families in mental health. Not more than just a choice, a movement. And we've got some big ideas, and we're just trying to, you know, keep ourselves humble at the same time. So thank you so much for listening to this part. Bash, I don't know if there's anything more to add here right now.
No, I just see there's a comment from Kladisi. Absolutely. I was so excited when I found out MOT was planning something like this. I needed a community like this, and I want to applaud Ren and all involved in creating such a space. Much, much needed. Thank you. What we're starting with is a portal. So we don't have an AI chatbot as yet, but we do have a portal, and that is our community space of gathering. And it's something really cool that we've been working on, and we have a partner, Nayan, who might be here, who's been really doing the back end on creation of all of this. And this is really exciting because this is going to be free to any person, an individual working with a child and working with families. So we're really looking to grow this together community to anyone, whether you are a therapist or a teacher, anyone that's working with children and families, who's aligned to our vision and our purpose. And basically it looks like it's Facebook for therapists. So it's really cool. It has a few main offerings that we're going to go into in a bit, but it has an activity feed where you can firstly create your own profile, share your details. This is great for networking, great for referrals, great for just connection and finding like-minded people working in the same spaces. There's different groups that you can join. So at the moment, we just have 3 groups here. So it's Welcome to ToGather, Becoming an Online Therapist, and Wellness Gatherings. And this is where members can join and comment, share articles, have discussions. Then there are also different forums. And this is where you can ask important questions, things that are keeping you up at night, things that you want discussion around. And then there's also all the events that we have. So this will include our CPD events and the other events that we'll also be holding through the community. So you'll see some of the events here. You'll also have access to some of the old events that we've had in previous years. And then it has the causes on it. So that's our online therapy training and development that we're offering for all therapists who are joining and want to become part of the MOT team and community. So there's quite a lot here, and this is developing it's still in process. Basically, I think we felt a lot of pressure because we had an idea of having everything ready before we launched, and we realized it's not possible because we want to create this with you as well. So especially this portal, if you're seeing that, oh, it would be nice if we could have this feature, or this is easier for us to communicate on, and so we realize that, okay, we've got to do this together with you once we have a bigger community. And so this is basically what it looks like for now. And we hope to grow and expand it with our different offerings as that starts coming into play. And anyone can register and be part of this community. The next part is our membership offering. So everyone will have access to the platform, but what we're looking at doing is having an offering for therapists who want to become online therapists, and also practice through My Online Therapist. And if you see this model, I'm sure that if you're an OT, I'm sure that you're familiar with this. So this is Anne Wilcox's framework to healthcare. And what we're using it is we use this as a framework to create what the membership and the community feeling that we want. So it looks at doing. So if you go to the next slide, Rennie. So it has a component of doing, and that would be the actions of an online therapist being part of the community. And then it has the component of being. So that's your experience as an online therapist. That's really your connection to yourself. That brings in a lot of mental wellness. It looks at becoming. So you're evolving as an online therapist and evolving with us as MOT as we move and transition into this next stage of what we're doing. And then also belonging. So how we belong in community and being able to support each other in this community. And basically, in order to do this, it involves training and development. And we call it training and development because it is training to become an online therapist and to practice online. But it's also self-development, developing yourself as a person, and also developing professionally as well. And in order to be part of all of this, there is that's a 12-month journey that we take you on. We take you on a journey of doing, being, and becoming an online therapist. And if we go to the next slide, we can just see what that would look like. And that would be the membership offering. So the offering would include, so monthly you'd have training and development in becoming an online therapist in Africa. You'd have wellness gatherings, and that is where we really look at mental health as health professionals, as people working with children and families. You have access to support, and this could either be support through counseling or support through mentorship. And we do have our first counselor. We will be growing the team, but we have Amy, who's also here on the call as well, who you could book one-on-one sessions with. And then our knowledge gathering. So that is our CPD events that we have once a month as well.
I think we're used to, as therapists, to be overwhelmed by the intensity of any kind of training and development. And a big thing in developing this, that we be realistic of what is achievable, and also slow the pace down if we want to get good quality, who are really feel really supported in their work, and feel this real love for their work again, having healed their own trauma. Then I think that's what we're going for. So it seems like it could be a lot, but it must add to your life. It must be a commitment.
And I think with this as well, it's also a program that we are developing with you, and from what comes from the sessions that we have, the wellness gathering sessions, the training sessions that we have. Most of them are going to start off being live events that won't be too long, and there'll be 2 two in a month, one wellness, one training. And yeah, and then from there, as we go, we will be developing and changing and adding to the program. We have a beautiful framework that we also wanted to share with you, but because we know that it might be changing as we go along, we might just share it in bits and pieces on the portal as we move as well.
And where we're really going with this is that if we want an accredited training, we want to be able to invite a diverse mix of healers, professionals, empaths, people, mothers, in communities that are really tough, who want to also offer their services in the work we're doing. So this is going, the training and the understanding of what this is going to evolve. But currently, what the training is in the current framework we live in is going to be what we're hoping to have CPD accredited for it, and you will come out with so much more than just points. Bash and I can personally testify to that. So yeah, the price, I must tell you, has been our biggest awakener, teacher. Please know that we have taken time to consider all financial things about it, knowing that therapists and health professionals are paying things for memberships and we don't get nothing for it some of the time, and we still have to do it. And so we know we're coming with this ask off the back of that. Not that means anything. I just think that let's make this something that is accessible, but quality. This is just a quick...
Yeah, and we'd love to hear what your thoughts are as well, just from what we've shared, the different areas of development and training and the price and the portal. So any comments, any questions that you have right now, we welcome that.
Taylor says, best team to be a part of, a space where you feel truly heard and supported.
And just quickly want to share my positive experience with you guys. So listening to the two of you, Ren and Bash, tonight, I always say it, they know it, I'm so impressed with them. And from the moment we met, I felt like these two are my kind of people. So when we had our first meeting beforehand, I decided, no, I'm just going to tell them I'm not the typical OT. I don't think they're the person they're not looking for me. I'm not looking for them. And then we just had this wonderful connection over the screen, and we immediately connected, and we shared the same views. And it wasn't the typical come to my practice, I'll see you, I'll sort you out kind of therapy. And that's just what's been inspiring me all along. I do have a full-time day job where we see one kid after the other. It's a different kind of community, but I just love the connection that this space creates for us. Yeah, so I started with MOT, I think it was 2021. I think you guys started 2020, and then I joined in. You were a full year in when I started with you. I've been part of this journey where MOT developed into all these other wonderful projects, and I'm just proud. And the online therapy that I've been doing has been great. Being able to connect to people that don't have facilities at home. What I mean is in-person facilities in the little towns they live in, or farmers on farms that are moms that stay on farms where they stay where they live and they don't have access to weekly support. So that's really been wonderful, being able to connect to people all over and being able to provide a service to people wouldn't be able to take a child or just have a chat with someone which is not part of that inner circle, just someone objective to say, yes, you're on the right track. What about this? What about that? So yeah, that's been my experience. On the one side, the clients, and then on the other side, connecting with other therapists and like-minded people. It's just been inspiring. So yeah, that's me in short.
And it really was the same for us, you've been such an asset on the team, and everyone comes with such a unique skill. And yeah, this is really not possible without all of you. And realizing how, we if we could deploy you to, and as a team, a big part of the strategy ended up becoming deployment of our therapists to certain places and areas. And yeah, thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate everyone taking the time to be here. Any last words, Bash?
No, just thank you so much, everybody. And so great to see people from the team who we also haven't seen in a long time. And yeah, please feel free to reach out to us, even if something pops into your mind later or in your sleep or next week, just around the community. Any feedback, suggestions, questions, you know where to find us. So we are open to receive whatever you have to share.
Hi.
Can I just add something, if you don't mind? It's to share something you mentioned about moving forward with this. Firstly, it's really inspiring. I think it's you probably know better than me, but I think there's very, very few platforms that exist like this. Probably not just in South Africa, but around the world. And you spoke quite a bit during the session about the inner self, just to lend some insight on this. So I don't work as a therapist, but I do work with a few MPOs and CIOs around the world. And for the last couple of years, I've been attending, there's the annual Zide Enterprise Sustainability event that happens every year. It's an event which touches on about, I think they impact close to about 500 million people around the world through one event. And in the last 8 years, coincidentally, this year was the first year that the theme of the event was actually around sustainable souls. So as much as it's a sustainable enterprise, the previous years they spoke a lot about movements around the world that's happening towards innovative and new age energy solutions, water solutions, environmental solutions, ocean solutions. This was the first year they actually brought it probably the closest to home within ourselves. And the core of the entire event was pitched towards, well, we've looked at everything external of ourselves. Let's look at something internal. And they spoke about sustainable souls. And I think a large part of the movement that came from this was exactly what you guys are inspiringly moving towards, trying to look at, like, where do you start? So we can look at the ocean, we can look at the environment, we can look at everything external of ourselves as much as we want, but it's only as good as it is we look at what's inside of ourselves. So as much as you guys at the forefront of creating this platform, which is great, in support of what you guys are doing, you're going to get so much traction because, and I think somebody said this in the comments earlier, this is exactly what the future needs, and this is what the world needs more of. So yeah, very inspiring to be a part of this, and very proud of you both for putting this together.
Oh, thanks, Faiz. So nice. Just so nice to have that global picture, because I think you can sit here in little old Cape Town, wherever you are, and feel like, how can my one small little contribution change anything, and I think at the same time, knowing what change you can make in one individual's life, just by having that connection with yourself, to be able to connect with them in a real way, and offer them whatever talent you have to support them and serve them. So thank you for the acknowledgement. I think for everyone in the therapy community, we don't often hear from non-therapists. So just the fact that you spoke today, thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Well, it's a pleasure.
I see in the chat, Larissa has a question. If you sign up, will it be a month-to-month or yearly membership? Would you miss some CPD and training sessions if you sign up later?
So we're hoping to do like a cohort at a time. Our first cohort is going to start in September, and what we've also been thinking of doing is not charging for December, because nobody really does anything in December. Yeah, guys, we're going to make our own rules as we go, to be 100% honest. If you want to be part of this community and can't afford it, talk to us. We're not, this is not that. This is not that. Yes, for admin purposes, we're going to have a monthly subscription that you'll pay for monthly. And however that is easy for you to do, then please do that. And then everything is going to be recorded. Yeah, so everything will be recorded. We've already recorded some of our training content, and yeah, it's also, part of our journey of looking at how does a course that is, very experiential become, what do you call it, sort of respected in this world, in this context of what we do. So we are taking the time to think through these things. So please work with us, share with us. You're allowed to be frustrated with us, and as best we can, we are going to communicate as best we can. And we have an amazing team.
I think as we think of new ways of practicing and supporting others, even like sharing and what teaching looks like, we want to also do differently. So that's why the course is set up in a very different way that involves different components. But I think from our experiences out of learning out of a university context, we've seen how we need to repeat and embody and actually practice certain skills on a day-to-day in order to actually help learn. So that's what we're going to be bringing into the sessions and into the program as well.
Yes. Again, Anisha has a question. Do you need to wait for 12 months to upgrade, or would you upgrade paid one if any? You don't have to wait 12 months.
No, I think we'll send an email out with the option of upgrading. So if you join free now, it's absolutely fine. And then we're hoping to launch this month, and so that the first month can start in September with training and the mental wellness groups and the CPD events and things. So so in the next couple of days, you should receive an email to upgrade from there.
The other thing is research. So a big portion of our work is going to be research. What we've also realized in the time that we've been working is that we've managed to collect an amazing amount of data that, private practices take a long time to build up. We built it up in a relatively short space of time. But we realized that, in order to really understand our data, in order to take this next leap, I feel like, we have to look at collaborating. We have to look at working with the bigger organizations that can really support this whole process. And we're in good company for that. Let me say this. But more than that, we are still going ahead. We are still moving forward regardless. So very excited, and we hope you feel inspired. I do think that there's so much benefit for you as a human being in the work, and yeah, I'm I'm certainly looking forward to the experience. Judy is asking, if you say African population, do you mean just locally or the whole of Africa content? Yeah, well, we're thinking we need to start here, start in South Africa. Also for regulation reasons. But there's no reason why the model can't be tested in other countries already. So we want to look at Africa, yeah, the continent. Because everything we're learning can be translated, not translated in a in a sense of language, but almost, yeah, it can be mainstreamed. That's what I mean, mainstreamed into the work we're doing. So, you know, if knowledge is power, how do we deliver knowledge to this particular mom living in Mitchell's Plain who only has time to read one sentence a day that, you know, pops up on her phone about something related to her ADHD child?
Question, like, is this specific to mental health or peds, etc.? So that this is a big one, because we are starting to see, and research also shows us, that mental health is the foundation of many of the other challenges that kids are experiencing, things like ADHD and, you know, midline crossing and whatever it is that you could be addressing. The root of that is mental health. So we're definitely looking at peds and family support, but the foundation of all intervention will have a mental health component for parents and for kids as well.
That's us, guys. This is the amazing team. Anyone in the room, please do, if you feel inspired to, share your experiences of working at MOT. If anyone needs to leave, you're more than, you know, also welcome to leave. But because the recording will be available,